always the agenda, always.
Good evening, and welcome to this meeting of the Old Kings Highway Committee of the Town of Yarmouth, which is being held in accordance with Chapter 470 of the Acts of 1973 as amended at 7:15 p.m. on Monday, September 11th, 2023, at the Yarmouth Town Hall Hearing Room located at 1146 Route 28, South Yarmouth. Moreover, pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, considering certain COVID-19 measures, this meeting is being run in hybrid mode, which means live. There will be some Zoom participation and possibly some phone communication participation as well. Please be reminded that our committee's main purpose is to review items for appropriateness and setting, and it is the responsibility of the applicant to comply with the regulations of other town boards and departments, including building, conservation, engineering, health, zoning, and the sign inspector. You should know that there is a 10 calendar day appeal period starting once a decision is filed with the town clerk. Any person aggrieved by our decision tonight can appeal to the Regional Commission of the Old Kings Highway Historic District. Our office administrator, Lisa Sherman, will be happy to answer any questions you may have regarding this process. So speaking of process, our procedure here is to have the applicants or their representatives sit at the table in front of us, present their application without interruption from this committee or members of the public. Then the committee will be free to ask questions and make comments, after which any members of the public may also ask questions and make comments if they so wish. So the first item on the agenda is 23-A108. It's to add a portico over the garage, an addition to the rear of 27 Minnetoxet Way. Mark and Robin Nason have, you're the owners, are here to present their application, so please proceed.
So our application is for, as you say, a small portico to go over the garage opening, as well as adding a new sunroom over the existing deck and sliding the deck southward adjacent to the garage.
You're having a shower, correct?
Sorry?
We have a shower, we're sliding everything down.
Is that it?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions from the committee about this application?
Do you want to go? Go.
I just have a couple of questions. The roof will be flat over that room?
Slight angle, but essentially flat, yes.
So what are you planning on making that out of?
Rubber.
A membrane.
Okay.
Yep. We've got Jim and Brian Basler doing the specifications for that, and they assure us it's a good design.
And the trim work on the top of that room, is that going to be AZAC or is it going to be wood or?
I honestly don't know. Wouldn't surprise me if it's AZAC. I'm pretty sure it's a stock item. So it's something we
So you think it's a composite?
think so.
It's okay to do that in the back, right?
So
Mostly-
Brian Basler is your contractor?
Yes.
Good choice. And a neighbor, virtually.
Yes. He built the house.
That's all my questions.
The balustrade you're adding on, I think it's lovely, by the way. I think it's nicely proportioned. I think it's a nice addition. And your house in general has that appearance, the shutters you chose, the proportions of your house. It's a very sweet house. Obviously, you're very house proud of it, the way you treat it from the photographs. It's almost like a little Chinese Chippendale kind of balustrade, although it actually looks a little like the Union Jack. I'm wondering if that's deliberate or if that's...
No, I don't think we're going for the Union Jack look.
But it's kind of a Chinese Chippendale balustrade thing. No, I think it's very handsome.
Thank you.
And I think that's a nice, even the the money you're investing and spending and putting on this little, I wouldn't call it a portico, I'd call it an arbor, really, kind of around the entrance to the garage, which softens it and gives it a little form. I think that's very nice.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I see one of our committee members is participating live by Zoom. Hi, Cindy. Do you have any comments or questions?
When I drove by, I would have to say that your house is very, very nicely maintained. You do a very nice job on it. So I think it's a lovely plan.
Thank you.
This is not going well for you.
I know, I'm getting nervous.
You should table it.
But
We have an interesting sense of humor among us, the members of this board. Are there any comments from abutters or, yes, would you stand up to the microphone and identify yourself, please?
I'm Patricia A. Sherman. I live at 21 Minnetonka Way, which is on the south side of their property. What I am concerned about is the portico, okay? If you look at the portico, all right, oops. Plot plan out here. If you look at the portico, it is on the south side, right? And how deep is the portico going to be? Meaning you have the sides, and how deep from the house out is it going?
the projection southward from the garage,
Yeah,
I think it's about 2 feet. Jim was very cognizant of the setback to the property line.
well, if you look at, if you all have your plot plan, okay? The plot plan shows from the house to the edge of the lot line is 22.5, 22.4 feet, and that doesn't include, there's an easement, okay? Now, if you put up a 2-foot portico, it's not gonna come into the realm of being 25 feet from the lot line.
Just so I can speak to, these are quarter scale drawings and I have an architectural scale. Again, I'm gonna call it an arbor because that's really what it is, is 2 feet, 2 inches from the existing house. But we also have an existing site plan here as well.
Yeah.
And as is generally the case, the person that drafted this has put the zoning setback requirement, which is, I believe, 20 feet from the side. They've also shown, and if you look at the drawing, it shows this little arbor portico, however it's been described as a portico, but it's more of an arbor. But it shows it, and it is, in fact, within the setback. It also shows the draining easement, which is 20th, I don't have an engineer scale, but it shows the drainage easement, and it's nowhere near that. So I don't know if you've seen that. Have you seen that? Because I have, and sometimes it's hard if it's very small, but you
I've
come over
got a
here.
plot plan here.
Yes.
Yeah,
Well,
but the
so-
thing is that I thought it was the ruling of the zoning board that you had to be 25 feet from the lot line. And they're right here, because of their easement drainage, it's only 22 feet, but if you went to the 25 feet, even put it on 2 feet, that brings it back to 23 feet from the lot line.
I'm not certain of the zoning easement. I believe it's a 20-foot side setback.
First of all, this is a zoning issue, this is not an Old
I know,
Kings Highway issue.
I know, but I'm just
Secondly,
bringing it up, so if they have to go to the building department,
Yeah, I
they'll
would-
know that this is what it is.
I
They'll,
would, with all due respect, suggest to you that 20 feet is
It is 20
the
feet.
accurate setback as designated on the plot plan. I also happen to know the Baslers, father and
I
son.
know them.
They dot all the i's and cross all the t's. They're not going to make a mistake
In
by
some cases.
transgressing on the
they
setback.
built my house, and I can tell you.
So I think you have no worries, honestly. Thank you for your comments. Do you have anything else you?
Another thing, you asked also, on the addition to the room, they're putting the portico, what material are they using? I don't have the stats here.
Do you want to answer the question?
We think it's composite.
The part above the roof, we believe is AZAC, if that's the question.
I want to know from the board, when did you change the ruling that you can use AZAC?
AZAC has been accepted by this committee for as long as I've been sitting on this committee, and that goes
When
back.
I was on the committee and sitting on the committee, no AZAC was allowed in any part of that, or fences, nothing. You could use AZAC at all.
Well, time marches on, and things have
AZAC,
changed.
when it is painted as a trim material, is indistinguishable from wood. One
I
cannot
know,
tell the
I
difference.
know it is, but I'm talking about a big project of AZAC, not the trim around windows or little thing here. I'm talking about a big project. So the main thing is that if it doesn't shine,
It does not shine.
no. That's what it, because I know we had a thing on the board that somebody put up a fence, and it wasn't AZAC, it was a regular fence.
As a PVC fence, that's right, and
What
that's,
they did was they sanded it and painted it,
yeah.
and
with-
that got away with it, but
No, we do not like extruded PVC fences, and they're not
But
acceptable.
I've never, I'm glad to know, that AZAC is acceptable, because I don't use it because of that.
Okay.
But I love what they're doing. There's no problem. I mean, it will be pretty to look at it, but I just want to make sure that everything goes.
What's great about it in this application is that, first of all, it's gonna, it's a balustrade, it's above, you can't even really touch it. And maintaining something like that
Oh, it's
with
great. You just
rot
wash it
is
with
terrible.
a hose.
So there's no rot, but it cuts like wood, and when it's painted, and quite frankly, even if it's not painted, if it's white, it looks like wood.
And some of them, I think it's, Cape Cod lumber, the one that's over there on 134. Theirs is white, but you can go to other places, and it's got a tinge, a real small tinge of, like a off-white. So that's why, people have painted it. So can I ask one more question?
Yep, of course you may.
Thank you. Can you have an AZAC fence?
I would say yes.
I'll tell you, in my opinion, yeah.
That's what it's like this, you know?
Well, if you look at the products, most everything now made by, well, it's now called Walpole Outdoors, but Walpole Woodworkers, as we knew it.
They're on-
You
yeah.
look at, everything's made of cellular PVC or AZEK now, and it looks spectacular. I mean, it looks fantastic.
I'm glad you're approving it, but it was never approved.
I will tell you, there was a time, as an architect, having dealt with this for a long time, where there was a real concern about it. There was, in the early years, concern that it wasn't dimensionally stable, that it shrank. There were concerns that it would look really terrible. I think in the last 20 years, the attitude about it has changed, and it's kind of proven itself to be a good material.
Well, it's good for one reason, that you can wash it, and it doesn't rot,
Yeah.
where most regular
Yes.
fences rot.
I will tell you, there's a house in Rhode Island called Linden Place in Bristol, which is a pretty spectacular house by Russell Warren. It's astounding. That they put back up a few years ago the balustrade, which is this incredibly elaborate federal balustrade. It's 3 stories up. It's entirely made of AZEK. And I don't think they would have done it had they have to make it of wood, because they would not have been able to maintain it. And you cannot tell the difference.
Well, a lot of people that are in the OKH, area are over 65, and it's hard to maintain a fence or anything, so they let it go, and then the area goes down. And that's why I think if you're approving it, go for it.
So you're happy with that?
Oh, as long as you're you know,
Well,
you don't
that
want, because I
sense of the-
thought,
My sense of the committee is, yes, we are.
yeah, and the only other thing is, you know, with the setback, I thought that it had to be 25
I
feet.
think you could check with zoning on that, but
believe it's
as I've
20.
said, and you know the Baslers as well,
Yeah,
they would not make that mistake. That's just not who they are or what they do. They're top-end
thing-
contractors, both father and son.
because years ago, I put up a fence, and you know, it rotted away, you know, real wooden fence. And they came out and surveyed it, and they said I had to be the 25 feet, which I am. And,
Well, I would check with zoning if you're still concerned about that issue. It doesn't really fall within our purview.
I know it doesn't, but I
Okay.
just thought I'd bring it up.
Anything else?
No, I'm satisfied.
Well, good.
I'm satisfied with my neighbors.
Okay, good.
As
Are
long
there
as the
any other
dog doesn't
comments
come
from abutters or other interested members of the public? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve this application.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Four
Aye.
ayes. The ayes have it.
Unanimously approved? So, congratulations.
Yes.
If you would be kind enough to come and sign this document, and all it signifies is that if you want to make any changes, you'll let us know.
You'll see an AZAC fence go up.
Okay. Do you need both of us to sign or just Mark? Okay.
I think you'll find that that extruded PVC that goes over 5x5s or 4x4s, we don't like those. Yeah. Well, again, it has changed, the attitude towards it, because at first there was it's PVC, and everyone thought of, again, that extruded, shiny, that's pretty awful, and you always see the seams. Yes.
Like, you know, fences and porches and, you know, any kind of a structure.
I'll send you the paperwork tomorrow.
Yep.
I was when Richard was here. I haven't seen him lately.
Okay, thank you very much.
As I said, I'll see the fence going up. You can come over and wash it. Where did you get your degree?
Roger Williams University. When I was there, it was Roger Williams College, but now it's Roger Williams University.
My son-in-law's an architect.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he graduated from USC.
Oh, great.
So the next item on the agenda is 23-A10, excuse me,
Just so you know, yes, yes.
we're moving on. I know that, we're moving on, and so are you. Okay. The next item on the agenda is 23-A109. It is to construct a new single-family dwelling at 51 Dartmoor Way. Mochi and Gail Amini are the owners. LaPlante Construction is the agent, and who do we have tonight?
Good night.
So my name is Moji Amini, and my wife Gail Amini.
Tell us about your application.
So we are proposing to build a single-family home, about 2,800 square foot.
We all have them.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
Go ahead.
This was existing home that was built in 1970, and a few months ago, we got the certificate of demolition, and now we are proposing to build this, again, 3-bedroom, 2,800 square foot house, and 2-car garage. And if you folks ask me any difficult questions, I have a friend stand by, and I will call a friend. Bill is online.
Would he like to address us?
Pardon me?
Who did you say was online?
Bill LaPlante.
Would he like to address us?
I don't know.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you.
My name is Bill LaPlante, owner of LaPlante Construction Company. As you can see, The plans were submitted along with the materials that were used for the Amini proposed residence. And I'm just on here to answer any questions you may have with the submittal. Moji and Gail could talk a little bit more to some of the styles of the doors and the material selections, but I'm here to answer any questions regarding the construction.
Okay, is that it? Bill, are you done?
Yes.
Okay. And you're done as well? Thank you. All right, I'll ask if there are any comments or questions from the committee.
Just a couple of material questions. I noticed you gave quite a few illustrations of metal roofs. And you have metal roof shown on here. Is the entire roof metal or just portions of it?
Just portions of it. It's just what's, so the main roof will be just the asphalt shingle, architectural shingles, and the metal roof will be standing seam, metal seam, or over the dormers. And also over the porch.
And I think you had provided the color or colors.
Correct.
And maybe I missed that. I'm just curious what the color of the metal.
It will be more closer to copper as we can get it.
Copper.
Yes, as close as, it will not be copper, I can't afford it, but it will be as close as possible.
So it'll be a brownish.
Dark brown.
And the siding on the house is primarily hardy plank?
The lower portion will be hardy pine, and the rest of it would be cedar shingles.
And the work on the chimney will be, is that a facade of
That will
stone?
be a facade, and that will be a field stone.
Is that kind of grayish or
The field
brownish?
stone, I think Gail wants it
I
more.
think it'll be more of a sandy color, like a more like the Cape Stone.
So this is a corner lot, so
Yes,
you
it
have
is.
high visibility from the front and
And back.
Inside.
and side.
Garage side.
So our charge here is to assess applications for new construction in terms of appropriateness and setting. Those are the two key words.
Yes, sir.
And in this particular setting, my sense is that there's a design compatibility problem in that if you drive around in your neighborhood, the houses are generally characterized by their modesty. And I would not call this a modest house. This is a fairly ambitious project on, I don't know if you want to call it a grand scale, but it's certainly imposing is a word I would use. And from that standpoint, I have a concern about its appropriateness in your neighborhood. I could see it fitting somewhere else, but I'm not sure that I'm comfortable with it in this particular neighborhood.
Have you, when was the last time you drove in the neighborhood?
Today,
Today?
yes.
Did you see the homes building in the Pheasant Cove?
Well, if you go down further, yeah, but that's not where you live. So in your immediate vicinity, what I would characterize as your neighborhood, my concern is that this particular house would dominate the neighborhood.
I have similar feelings about it, and there is how do I put it? A scale and massing issue with it that I find a little off-putting in things that are efforts to increase, I don't know what it is, maybe it's to break down the massing, but I find them odd, for lack of a better term, odd in the sense of you don't see it in vernacular design in this area at all. And, I mean, a house can be very large and still be, or be grand, but have an economy of detailing that you find, well, you know, mostly in the vernacular architecture. So, for example, I'll give you some examples. The dormer in the front with 4 windows. The windows, to my mind, are far too small. And then you have this really unnecessary secondary projection of the shed, which just makes it look even bigger than it is. And then there's a shed dormer to the left of that, which is a mere feet away.
You mean to the right?
To the right as you look at the front. I'm saying the left if you're in the house, but yes, that's, you know, 1 foot 9 inches away, but the roofs are 4 inches away from each other. The edge, the rake side of the roof is 4 inches away. It's just really odd and strange, and also a nice rush of water comes down. Almost impossible to put gutters on the projecting. The secondary little gable roofs that project out, and it has a kind of, it's a nice house for what it is, but it could be anywhere. And it could be in any, it's obviously clearly a home that requires investment of time and money, and it's obviously going to have a great deal of detailing, but it could be in any nice suburban plat, anywhere in this country. And again, as the chairman said, our charge is really to make it fit our area. And I think if you go around, you'd see that the houses are a little more simple. That doesn't mean it has to be a box, but there's more economy of design, I guess I'll put it. So this is my problem with it as well. And just 2 things I'll say design-wise for you. And I don't know why you wouldn't do it. You're going to change your roof pitch, but you have a porch. This is, again, your choice. That's 6 feet deep in the front. Make it 8. Make it 8. A 6-foot porch is just barely enough to sit on there. And you have the space to make it 8 if you wanted to. But, and I would suggest you do that. It'll change the pitch of the roof a bit, but that would be my strong advice, to make it, then it'll feel really kind of a grand outdoor living space. But also, like, and another thing I'm going to suggest, you know, is on the 4 columns in the front, the one on the far left as you look at the front of the house really should be kind of a half column that's against the wall. Because to have that freestanding column hugging the wall is a little, again, it is not a traditional design thing. It's a little more work, but they do make half columns. But in general, it's a little fussy to my taste, to my sense in terms of the detailing of it. And that's my issue with it. It doesn't look, and I think it could very easily be brought to that place. It doesn't look of this place and of this neighborhood. I'm not saying make it smaller, I'm not to make it, but it's a bit of a, there's a lot happening to it.
Okay. Along the lines of a lot happening, There's a lot of fenestration in this house. I mean, I haven't counted how many windows, but a lot of them. And especially on the rear elevation, you've got those 5 windows, and then the 3 above them that are not balanced with the 5 below, and then more, and then 2 more over there, and then another 5, and it's a lot. It's a lot of windows.
Trying to harness, we're trying to harness
The way
the
that
light.
they're arranged, to my eye, is not felicitous.
Can I add something?
Sure.
So, I think the house is lovely, but I don't think it's appropriate for the Cape. I mean, it looks to me like.
I'm sorry,
a-
would you say that again, Cindy? I missed that. You said,
Sure,
can I add
said
something?
Yes, I think the house is very nice, but it looks to me like it belongs in the Adirondacks. Does not look like a Cape Cod style house. Most of the houses in that neighborhood are ranches and capes, some a little bit larger. But this to me looks like I said, an Adirondack house with perhaps some craftsman detailing. It doesn't really look like Cape Cod style to me. That's my concern.
Yeah, our charge is to preserve the character of the historic district. And I think this house is out of character. It doesn't please me to say that, but that's what I honestly feel. It just doesn't seem to be the right house for that neighborhood.
Yeah, there's no struggle. We like to be in the Cape because we like Cape, we like, the environment, and we are here to listen. If you don't think it's appropriate, we understand you. But can you give us guidance here? Or is it
I was just going to get to that. We have to tread a fine line here, because we are, it's not our responsibility to design the house, and we're not going to design the house. We can certainly, I've tried to make, and I think all of us have tried to make some suggestions to point you in a more modest direction. I've mentioned the preponderance of windows. Just as a general statement, I think there are, frankly, too many windows, and the way that there needs to be, in my view, some better consistency to how they're arranged, their relationship to each other on the second floor versus the first floor. I think, in essence, you're going to have to think about this differently, more along the lines of what we're suggesting in terms of what our charge is, why we are seated here. So
So you have no issues with the square footage?
the square footage is, no issues with the square footage.
Plan. I think what the designer is doing here is trying to break up the massing a bit. And I would agree with the chairman. I think consistency-wise, there's an effort to differentiate things maybe in a way that don't need to. For example, I don't know that I agree that there are too many windows, but I think there maybe are too many window shapes. So for example, if you look at the front of the house, I'm just looking at your study, so to the right of the front door. I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't make those 3 mullioned windows the same size as the window to the left of the front door. And I do think, and I know it's only over a stairwell, but I think the windows on the second floor, I think they should be smaller than the windows on the first floor, but they seem too small. And then that added projection and the fact that there are 2 dormers that are so close, it really doesn't work well. And it won't work well even with drainage. It'll be almost impossible. You won't be able to put gutters very easily on that double step in the dormer. And I almost think, believe it or not, that the idea of unifying that into one dormer and maybe adding some gables on the end or something, you should drive by some houses, because there are houses that have done a full shed dormer in the front on Cape Homes, that they, would break it up a bit, and by adding vernacular detailing. And so in that way, no, I don't have an issue with the size of it at all. I've never been a fan, again, of these kind of double little steps with the two gables that you see in your master bathroom, and on the, let me see the other side. Let me just go here. So there, for example, and it's a perfect, and you see it a lot. I thought it was the case. If you look at the right side, you have this, added little projection with another little gable end, which again, I know our issue isn't money, but again, anytime you bump a foundation, it costs money. You want to turn a corner 90 degrees, that's added cost. I don't think that's necessary. I think it would be better to have that push back, that little projection, rather than try to break up that massing. It's very much a Cape massing. That's the thing that you see a lot of in kind of developments. This it's almost like a fake out. Oh, what am I looking at? That's another room. Well, no, it's all one big garage, but we bump this thing out that looks very spec-built kind of contractor thing, whereas there's even a cost savings, not that that's what we're here to do for you or that you're asking for that, but I think even just pushing that back and making it so it's just a gable end and ditching, I would even ditch that little bit of roof that goes across the bottom. These things would go a long way towards bringing it more in line with the vernacular of this area, to make it feel more of this place, of the Cape. And that you keep it on the side where you've got your master bathroom, perhaps, but I think that, I'll put it this way, I think the house is fine. I think the detailing of it and some of the massing elements I would agree with Mrs. Ecker. It has a very Adirondack feel. When you get to brackets and these elaborate brackets, it feels very much like that architecture, which is very handsome, but it also has some Cape components to it, so it's a little schizophrenic, but if you look, this house could be skinned any kind of way, and I think if you pull back a little bit on it and maybe simplify it a little, you could fix all of these issues with it and not change really anything about the house in terms of its square footage, in terms of its plan, all of those issues. And I'm, again, I look at the rear elevation. I actually like the second floor with that full shed dormer, but I very much appreciate the fact that you have pulled the shed dormer back so that you see the full shape of the roof. You see that little bit of roof. So it's not just effectively a two-story colonial on it. I like that. I'm not, but perhaps the metal roof on the garage thing becomes a little more simplified and a little less Adirondack kind of place. So there's where I think it would benefit. And again, this is just, you've got the room for it. Add 2 feet to your front veranda, and then that really becomes a living room for you. It won't change it won't change this elevation at all. And I actually think it'll help on the side elevation, but it becomes a real living space.
Maybe what would be useful to the applicants is if we could focus on something in the current design that we think, if it were carried over into the entirety of the design, would improve this project. I mean,
Can I say
you
something?
mentioned the second-story dormer on the rear of the house as an example of something that you like, Rick.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I like the two, I think the 2-over-1 windows are very nice. They're a modern kind of thing, they're Victorian thing, but I actually rather like the fact that that they speak to the time that this house is built, that it's a modern house. This is a popular style here now. I like the proportion of them. The main floor windows and the ones on the second story, I'm guessing that's a bathroom, the third window over from the left, I'm guessing that is a bathroom window. You have heard me, if you listened to the last meeting, so I want to put a little bit of a metal roof on, and I said I'm a sucker for metal roofs. I like them. In this instance, I don't know that they work necessarily. I think that, again, I really love standing seam metal roofs. I really do. But in this instance, I think it pushes it towards that kind of Adirondack, Vermont, in the country feel that probably doesn't work here. I like the porch columns. I'm assuming there, I would make sure you use real kind of classically proportioned Doric columns that have entasis, meaning they swell, they're a little fatter on the bottom, they go up, easily available. So I like those traditional components. I like the side lights on the door. You have a shingle style, you have an arts and crafts door. I would suggest that maybe you might look at like a 6-panel colonial door, maybe with even that kind of blown bullet glass or something on it that would give it a, bring it back to the Cape. I don't know what else I would add to it.
Focused on that aspect of the house, because you've asked for guidance, and I think we'd like to provide you with some. Where the columns are on the ground level, I think a balance, it's begging to me for balance. The entryway with the 2 columns flanking the entryway and the lanterns and the side lights, all that's nicely balanced. And then you've got what strikes me as an imbalance to the windows. And what's behind the 3 windows to the right?
Study.
Okay, so there's no reason why you couldn't create 1 window on that side to match the window on the left side. Correct? You could do that.
Yeah, we can make the windows at the office to match the
Yeah,
window on the left.
I think there's a symmetry to that aspect of the house that I think is thrown off by that imbalance of the windows. So that's one part of the project that I think could be relatively simply fixed or improved, however you want to put it. And the house would benefit, the design would benefit as a result. And as a general statement, we all have our own different, okay, Cindy?
When you're done, Bob, I don't interrupt.
Well, I
When
was
you're
just going
done.
to say that, we are all individuals on this committee, so you heard the vice chairman say he's not sure there are too many windows, and maybe there's too much disparity in the windows. I do think there are too many, but that's my opinion, and we don't always have exactly the same opinion about things here, which is fine. So that might be something of a confusion in terms of guidance, but I think there's a general sense of the house
If I
that we're
could
trying
just,
to
Cindy, I
convey.
know you want to go, but I just need to point something out because I'm just noticing it. I actually don't think you can use the window that you have on the left of the front because it is on the stairway. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 risers. In residential, you can use 7.5-inch risers. In commercial, you can use 7. Let's call it 7-inch risers. That's 30 inches. That, and looking at the first floor level, again, I have a scale. That window actually, that window is too long. That window won't work because effectively where the glass is on the window is where the landing is. So before you turn up. So that window actually has to be smaller than what you've shown. more like the windows on the other side. But again, that's not a deal breaker, but that window will not look like that. It has to be more like the windows at the study area. But yeah, I think I would agree with the chairman. A disparity, there's a lot happening.
All right, Cindy?
So I know the vice chairman mentioned earlier about the double gables on the two ends. I've never liked those. I think if we got rid of those and just had a single gable with maybe evenly spaced windows on the first floor, it would really improve the look for me. It would make it more symmetrical and much more fitting with the Cape Cod vernacular. And then the dormer on the front, I mean, have you considered possibly like a Nantucket dormer or one solid long shed dormer? I agree with the vice chairman that the two different size dormers just don't work for me. There's just too many different details that are sort of in conflict with each other.
If I could make a comment, I apologize if I'm interrupting, but I've placed my hand up and just wanted to see if I could.
That's our fault. We're sorry.
No problem. So, being a builder that has designed over 1,000 homes throughout Massachusetts and Connecticut, and built them, we did not work on this design. I certainly understand where the committee's coming from. I absolutely know how to address this and how to address your concerns with the designer, or if Moji and Gail would like to move in a different direction. My question really is this something that we could change these elevations, give it more of a traditional Cape feel, and get a reaction from the board without going to another public meeting?
So,
Or at least from the chair, somebody to say, yes, we think this is in concert with the neighborhood, and I would just hate to work on this, have Moji and Gail spend a lot more money redesigning this, come back before you in a public hearing, and say, geez, no, that's not in keeping with the neighborhood.
Well,
I know certainly the changes and listening to the committee. I know that the changes that I would make to be able to utilize basically the same floor plan if they choose to do that, or I could work with them on a new design that would be more traditional Cape. But if there would be any way to get some feedback ahead of time, just to say, yeah, and certainly no guarantees, but more of like an informal, or maybe it's at another meeting, an informal discussion about placing something in front of you.
The only problem I see with that is that the public has a right to see and react to a design or a change, and
you're not talking about
that's
tonight, are you, Bill?
That's only if you're going for approval. I'm not suggesting that we do something informal and not have the public's input.
Yeah. Well, we could certainly table this application for a redesign. And the point, you understand the point the vice chairman's making, that we can't do these kind of modifications on the fly. The abutters and other interested members of the public have to be notified of what the project actually is.
I think you misunderstood what I was saying. So I was not suggesting that an informal approval would be made, or there would be a vote informally and not in a public setting. My comment strictly was to get some feedback from one or two of the committee prior to submitting for a public hearing to get public input and for you to vote on it. I just
We
would
just
not
want to know if
want.
you're on the right track.
Effectively, could you have could they submit, how does this look, and have one or two of us?
We could certainly schedule an informal discussion.
Yeah,
It wouldn't be a formal application such as the one you've presented to us tonight.
Correct.
Okay,
And
yeah, that
again,
absolutely can be done. And I
that'd
think
be great.
I think it's a good suggestion on your part and a good way to go. And I think you have a sense of what our qualms are about the current design. So think about the surrounding houses. The houses, 24 houses, and or however many there are, and what in your mind would constitute the neighborhood, and see if you can come up with something that sort of would blend. It doesn't have to mimic any particular house in the neighborhood. It could be its own unique house, but have a sense of consistency and compatibility with the neighborhood as a whole. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, absolutely. I firmly, I understand what you're looking for, and I know that on resubmittal, that it would be
All right, great.
consistent with what you're looking for.
And one of the other things I'll point out that to me always looks really off. I don't feel it on the back because it's a full shed dormer, but even on the front, again, this doesn't change anything plan-wise at all. Those two front dormers, again, I think it should be one and reworked and get rid of that secondary bump out on it. But also, I think it would be much better looking and make the house look more, I don't know, bring it more together. If that dormer, if those shed dormers didn't go to the ridge, and were a foot or two below, so that the line of the roof continues and they don't meet exactly at the ridge, and also more in keeping with the vernacular kind of traditional way of doing it. So I think that there's a way, and again, the suggestions that I've made so far tonight are actually cost-saving measures, but really don't, pushing that back, taking away the extra projection. Not that, again, that's our charge or you've asked for that, but the guidance we're giving, I think in the end could actually make it something we'd be very pleased with, something that you would be very pleased with, and have nothing we've discussed tonight changes the plan, except for that little bump out in the garage, but would also bring it more in keeping with the feeling of this place.
Would the board rather us not using metal roof in this case?
I like the metal roof as an accent. So like below the gable on the two ends where it's a small piece of metal, and the same on the rear of the house, but in the front, the way those dormers are currently, I think if you lowered the dormers a little bit and brought them down lower on the roof and sort of had less metal, I think it would be more attractive and more in keeping with the King
Sort of
Cod
comes,
style.
so I just want to understand you. So you're from the ridge, you want asphalt shingle for however many feet, 2 feet maybe, and then come down into the metal.
No, the shed dormer itself will get pushed.
Yeah, the whole thing down, but it would be,
Pushed down.
Right.
But
and then,
Right, sort of along what, by the way, I've driven your neighborhood several times today, and I walked through your whole neighborhood for the garage sale this weekend. So I did take some time looking at all the homes, and there are quite a few homes that have been modernized, including the vernacular that my committee members have been saying. And so it's certainly possible to update it. But what I was going to say is, when I were to drive by this house with all of the metal roofs, I think that's all I would focus on, especially with what you said tonight, it being brown. It'll contrast with the dark gray or slate of the asphalt shingles. You will be drawn to the metal roofs. And previously, when we've approved very discreet metal panels, they haven't been the focal point. You know, they look terrific on the homes that have installed them, but they haven't been the single thing you looked at. And if you look at your front, you have the metal going practically across the whole center section of this. So it's a little bit different than what we've approved in the past.
And for example, on the back, this little piece of metal roof that you have, I rather like it. It's a big elevation. I like the asymmetry of it. I think, quite frankly, I would almost suggest you go with something of a color, you know, but to punch it a little. This little piece sticks out. I'm assuming that's the kitchen. Am I right?
Over the kitchen, yes.
You know, again, yeah, over the kitchen. So, you know, in that instance, a little piece of it, I mean, it's a good-sized piece, but a little piece of it is, what is it? It's approximately,
16 feet, I think.
yeah, you're right, 16 feet 6 of roof is really, I think it's interesting. It's different. This thing is projecting out. The roof is fairly low. And even you have the metal over the garage area, but I think the styling of it feels, again, as Mrs. Ecker said, feels very Adirondack. And like, again, that's what I say, drive around, take some pictures, make it feel New England, make it feel particularly Cape Cod. And you can have a component like that. And again, I understand the idea of it. It's breaking up the massing of this gable form, which is actually very nicely proportioned. But it's, you know, giving it a bit of a something there. Obviously, you're not going to hang out there. That's your garage. But you know, the effort to make it have surface area and be varied is very, very much appreciated. I mean, all of this costs money, and you're investing this in to make the home beautiful, and we understand that and appreciate it. I think it's a stylistic issue, and I think you know, it can be, you know, one of the things I would very much like for us to have at some point in the future here is something of a pattern book, or a design guideline is a better word for it. You know, do this over this. This is preferred. Avoid this kind of thing, where it speaks to, you know, common things that you see in construction, particularly nowadays, that have pulled away from more traditional ways of building, that I think we all think are beautiful. So I think the basic form of your house, I mean, you haven't gone for a big, giant, two-story, let's get to the roof also, kind of thing that you see a lot, particularly people who are this close to the water. I need to get up there. And it is very much, you know, scale-wise, it's a big house, but, you know, I see what you're trying to do. I think you need to pull it back a little in your detailing of it, and you'll be there.
As far as with respect, again, to follow up on what was just said about the metal roofs, I think as a discrete accent to the house, it's a nice idea. So specifically, I personally have no issues with those two metal roofs on the rear elevation. There's a lot of it on the front, and it ceases to become an accent, a discrete accent. It's now a prominent part of the front facade of the house. So I'm not quite I don't find that as felicitous as I do the accents on the back.
Understood.
My biggest beef, I would say, is those two front dormers. That, to me, is the biggest thing that's really way off. I think again, don't change the program of your building, but I think it needs to be simplified, united, and then somehow dealt with it. I think if you bring it down from the peak, and you bring it up and get rid of that other little bump out where the four windows are, and it becomes kind of this long, unified thing, and the roof will appear lower, I think it'll fix it. I mean, we'll have to see it, but I think that goes away. And I would also, I've never liked those double gable things. Forgive me, I don't mean this as an insult to you. I've always found them kind of like a cheap trick of kind of trying to make it look like something it ain't. you know, and usually they happen at garages. And because, but your garage isn't a big, giant, massive thing. You know, if you just look at the shape of that, it's very much a traditional cape form. And if you get rid of that bump out, I'll put it this way, you don't need it. You don't need it to make this house beautiful. You just don't. You know, the house is, it's a very, the plan is really quite nice. And, again, it's clear, as you've gone through this design process, you have made it clear that you've wanted to break up the massing of it, that you didn't want it to be a big, giant thing. It's very obvious to me that a lot of care has been taken in laying this out. And again, as being an architect, I know, you know, it's cheap to make a big rectangle. It's very expensive to make things where things bump out. And you have it in profusion here, and I know that's a way to break up your massing. And so it's very much appreciated the care you've taken to do that. I think it's a matter of the skin you wrap it in needs to be a little massaged.
So in summary, for starters, we're gonna work on the front shed dormers. We're gonna get rid of the metal roof actually in the front. We just gotta go with asphalt shingles. We're gonna get rid of the brackets that supports the little roof over the garage, same as on the rear view. We're gonna get rid of the brackets, just.
But I like the idea of something there. I mean, look at Walpole Woodworkers. Look at the little pergolas with beautiful little brackets, and they just stretch across the top. Doesn't have a roof on it. They have a really beautiful detail. It's a little bracket. They're white, and they have, I think, 3 diamond. They're put on the diamond that go. I had them on a house that I had. I put it on. Then I had wisteria growing over. That right there immediately brings it right to the cape, brings it back here. So I like the thing. The expression of it here, I think, is a little off, but go ahead, continue.
Then on the garage end, we're gonna just unify there won't be secondary gable there. On the left side, where the living space is, the reason for that gable was actually the bump out on the for the master bath.
And I'm just going to show you that I just did a little sketch while we were talking. I did a little thing, I don't know if it will work or not, you'd have to check it out, but I did a little thing where it's like a balustrade, you know? You get rid of the gable, and it becomes a little balustrade, possibly. Or maybe it's a little shed roof. Maybe that's a place to put a little section of metal roof. Perhaps that's a little place for that. You know, where it would be a nice little accent as opposed to, you know, the main attraction, the main meal.
We're gonna work on the windows on either side of the door to see how we can make those the same. We're gonna work on the door itself, come up with a more of a maybe a 6-panel or KP door.
Can I make a suggestion to you?
Sure.
Look at a 6-panel door and take a look at, because again, I see you have the desire to make this house a special place. I've always wanted one myself, and I think they're spectacular. Take a look at like a Baldwin rim lock, a solid brass Baldwin rim lock. Do you know what I mean by a rim lock?
No.
You know those big brass, on the outside there's just a knob and a keyhole, and on the inside there's a big brass box with a, I can never remember the name of the thing that it strikes. The keeper. It's called the keeper. But a Baldwin rim lock, it's a magnificent thing. And, you know, I think, again, a detail, you only see it when you're in the house. On the outside, you'd see a brass doorknob. But on the inside, you'd have this big brass. And I think your house is of the scale that it can, and those are the details that even for you inside are really
You
special.
could go really high-end and investigate Ball and Ball in Exton, Pennsylvania. They
Yeah.
make beautiful
Exquisite.
hardware. So brass,
But Baldwin
rim
also
locks.
makes it, but Ball and Ball is like, yeah, you can get lost
for what you're
on
putting
there.
in the house. if it were me and I were going to follow that suggestion, I'd be looking at Ball and Ball.
I would agree. But Baldwin does make a beautiful one, but Ball and Ball is like
So, Bill,
symphony of hardware.
Yes.
do you feel comfortable with moving in the direct, are you comprehending and feel comfortable with what we're suggesting?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I wasn't involved in the design of this house, but I've designed enough homes over the years to know exactly what you're looking for.
Okay.
I think it's, I think to get into a door, I mean, realistically, there's 24 door styles that would fit nicely in that neighborhood. And to, say that, we need this hardware or that
All right.
hardware. I think it's
So-
a little bit of overreach, to be
So-
honest with you, but
Bob, can I say one more thing? I have one more thing I'd like to say, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
We haven't talked at all about color. And Mrs. Amini mentioned that she wanted to do copper on the metal roof. I'm not sure what color they were thinking about for the asphalt shingle roof. Was that black or was it, I think it says multicolor in the proposal, but you've got yellow hardy plank on the front. You've got natural cedar shakes above that in the gable ends. You've got a copper roof on the metal and a dark gray or whatever, and then turquoise in the door. It just seems like there's an awful lot of colors. I might want to, I would suggest you think about having the metal roof closer in color to the asphalt shingle roof.
That is probably what we intend to do. It's a more of a darker color. I couldn't really explain it. They are in the neighborhood, they are multicolor asphalt shingles that look quite nice. There was a house that was maybe a second house in the Outlook. It's a brand new house with black window trims, and it looks quite nice. That was built right before pandemic. So that was our intention, the multicolor, and we'll certainly pick most of the metal roof going to go away anyway. So what's left, we'll make sure to coordinate it with the color on the shingles. We'll certainly do that. As you say, the metal roof is not really a deal breaker for me, so we'll leave what you folks as an accent, but we'll get rid of most of in the front, and we'll certainly.
I'd try it on your shower area, your tub area. I think a little shed roof there, again, getting rid of that double gable thing. Maybe a shed roof there with a bit of metal roof would be very nice on the far left side. Give it a little punch.
Yeah,
Bookend the building.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's, at least, I don't know what Bill thinks, but to me, these are fairly, easy changes, except how we're gonna do the front shed. One is a bedroom, the other one is more of above the entryway, so we'll have to work on that, how we marry those together. But we'll certainly do that. Again, we want to fit in the neighborhood, so whatever we can do to do that, we're willing to do.
Yeah, well, that's, and I appreciate your being so
Yes.
cooperative. We want to work with the applicants.
Sure.
And I hope that in this case, we can all agree when the dust settles and you've got your final home design that we're going to approve, that everybody is happier for it, and most especially you.
Absolutely. Yeah, there is no animosity whatsoever. We are, again, we like Kate for certain reasons, and you folks are here to keep that, and I'm all fine with it.
I will tell you, I'm genuinely, I'm like excited about what you're going to come back with. I'm excited about seeing it, and I think that you've already negotiated. It's a big house. You've already solved effectively the massing challenge that you had in building a house is substantial as this. That was the big. You've done that, I think, rather successfully. It's a matter of pulling the details back, but I'm excited to see what you're going to come back with. And I think that in the end, you're going to have a house,
I think you might have the showplace of the neighborhood.
the star of the street.
Yeah.
That's the reality is. It's going to be that. Because the other houses are far more humble, and your house is going to have this feel that's going to work with them and be a part of them, but taking it up a notch to a level of showplace. And that's, so I'm, it gives me the goose flesh as an architect to talk about it, and excited to see, and clearly your builder knows what we want. He gets it. So there you are.
Okay,
And
so,
I truly believe that, we can work pretty much with 95% of this floor plan. The dormer on the second floor, to me, is not concerning, because I would put a Nantucket dormer centered on the front entry and balance the windows out. I would rework the staircase to get to the second floor so that we can lengthen that window on the left-hand side. And like you said, I think saying too many windows, I think that also is a little bit of an overreach. I certainly understand, the windows being consistent in size, consistent in style, the simulated divided light, in the appropriateness of the size and stacked windows, and those are all things that I will get involved in, and I'm confident that you'll be very pleased with the.
there is one thing, I'm
design.
focused on the windows again. The application calls for snap-in grills.
Yeah.
May I suggest you use true divided light on this house?
We certainly going to do that. We actually visited one of Bill's houses in Orleans on last Friday, and he does a fantastic job, and that's what we're going to go with.
Good, okay.
That's,
I would just make the comment that those are a simulated divided light with an integral spacer bar.
Yes,
so
yes.
that,
We now say, as you know, Bill, true divided light, even though they're really not. No one expects you to pull out the glazing putty. So, so you're talking about interior, exterior with that kind of insulating spacer in the airspace.
Correct.
Yeah, that's.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from anyone? Okay, so.
Motion?
I
I
would
move
like
to
a
table this application pending wonderful things.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
I,
And aye. So, we're excited.
Thank you very much for your time and your feedback.
Thank
I
you,
can
Bill.
assure you that the redesign will be fantastic.
Thank you for being so receptive. Not
Yes.
everyone is.
Thank you.
I want to show you before you go. I'll just show you a picture of a rim lock.
oh, great.
So this is a rim lock. This is the inside. Now, it has a key, and you can use it, but it also would have a modern lock, and usually there's a scutcheon over it so you can't see it, so it flips over. But that's a rim lock. They're really beautiful. But on the outside, you just see the knob and a keyhole. But yeah, absolutely.
That's what they are.
That's what they are. They're really.
Wait, this is up to you.
It's up to you, but they're great. They're really great things. Again, they're beautiful things. They have it's a real conversation piece, as they used to say.
All right.
Thank
Well,
you very
Thank you
much.
very much.
thank you.
Yeah, informal, just but there won't be an
All right.
application there. You can bring your new plans in
So,
and run it by these guys.
Mr. Chairman, and I know I see Andrew is there, my neighbor.
Whenever you're ready. Yeah.
I was, as I've done before, I've recused myself on the next application. It's up to Andrew if he wants me to. I'm going to vote to approve it, but whatever you
Okay, well,
have me do, I'll do.
well, let's let this conversation conclude, and then I'll,
Yeah, talk to Bill,
I
and
know we haven't started
I
yet.
will start with that.
I'm ready for the next one, is October 11th, and get you on that one. But then you can just figure out, you can talk with these guys, get more plans, then once you're got it final, then you can come back in and do You don't have to reapply, you can use the, your plans, which is,
So it's like it's on hold.
yes,
kind of.
exactly,
Okay.
exactly.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay,
Thanks for your time.
thanks for your time.
Very much.
Very much, both
Yep.
of you. And you, Bill, thank you.
All right, so,
Thank you.
the next item on the agenda is a tabled application. It's to build a shed at 125 Weano Road. Andrew Philbrook is the owner, and Philbrook Construction is the agent, and we need to untable that item. So do I hear a motion?
I make a motion to untable that.
And are you still on, Cindy?
No, I don't
No?
think she is.
All right,
Then
well,
you need me, okay.
yes, just for this motion. So, okay.
Okay, then, again, I should recuse myself, but in this instance, being that I'm not going to prevent this application from going forward, I second the
Okay.
untabling.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so.
Aye.
Oh, thank you, Cindy. You are here. Okay, good. Okay, so do we have either Andrew? Well, I guess it's Andrew.
I think he is.
Do we have him?
Yes.
Okay, great.
I'm here.
Tell us about what your plan is, Andrew.
It's a shed with AZEC trim, white cedar shingles, black asphalt roof shingles. The trim will be painted white. And that's the gist. I think the windows are white, finished white. That's it.
Okay. Is that it? Andrew?
That's it. It's a
Okay,
shed.
great. So the vice chairman, who is in a butter, is going to recuse himself on this application. So are there any comments or questions from the other two members of the committee?
Hi, I have a couple of questions for you. I have one elevation that was provided. I think it's the updated elevation. I don't know if you can see this. And I think you mentioned that there's going to be a slide and swings attached to this? Is that correct?
Long time ago. Many, many moons ago, in a different version, there was going to be slides and swings, but this is just a shed.
Just a shed to be placed on a foundation?
I'm calling for diamond piers, but just some type of piers to attach it to the ground.
And
So one of the drawings, it looks like it's elevated above the ground. I'm a little confused on that, sorry. Is it on the ground or is it elevated above the ground?
It's just off the ground, like the floor framing of it.
Okay. So the existing building that's there now, is the upper part of that going to go away?
Correct.
Okay.
So
you.
this is going on the same footprint as the existing structure?
Yes, I hope to reuse at least the first floor part of it, and then expand it.
When you say expanded, it's going to be a larger footprint than the existing?
No, actually, I'm reusing the footprint, but that also included at the time the two posts that was open underneath. So same footprint for the sake of conversation, same footprint.
Okay. But it's not going to be as high.
Correct.
Got it. And the roof is, I'm sorry, do you say asphalt shingles in the roof?
Correct. Yep.
Well, it's nice that you provided these drawings with the people on them for scale. It's helpful.
I think those are the last drawings that Rick provided.
I didn't see people.
This one?
Oops. Shoot. Where are the people?
I'm not sure I have people on mine. but-
Yeah, I just want to make sure we're looking at the same. I think the chairman's actually referring to some of the older figures. The only figures that we should be looking at is the one sheet, is that correct?
Yes.
Well,
Yeah, I'm working on the one sheet from Main Street
so the
Design.
massing overlay is not relevant? Is that what you're saying?
I
Figures
don't know.
4 and 5 are not relevant?
That is from the previous hearing.
I'm not sure what that is.
Okay.
This is the only figure.
Yeah?
Yeah, it all goes away.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from the committee?
I think it's an improvement.
So, just one other question, the outer dimensions of the base, could you just tell me what those are?
18 by 8.
Any other questions or comments from
No,
the
I have
committee?
no other questions.
Well, I think your neighbors are going to be much happier with you if we approve this application. So is there a motion?
Well, do you want to hear
Good,
from the
Mr.
butters?
Chairman,
Oh, yes, okay. Go
as an
ahead.
abutter, I just want to say I thank Andrew and I support his revised shed and hope you'll approve it.
Okay. Well, that's hopeful, Andrew. So is there a motion?
I'll
I
make a
move to
motion.
approve.
Go ahead, Cindy.
I move to approve the revised plan for the shed at 125 Guiana Road, 23-A039.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And aye. Congratulations and thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so we need to approve the minutes of the August 28th meeting.
I move to approve the minutes of the August 28th meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I wasn't here.
Oh, aye.
Aye.
Okay, so other business, the appeal hearing for our decision to approve the demolition of the L addition at 33 Summer Street will be a week from tomorrow at
19th.
1:30 at the fire station on Route 149 and 147. I always get them confused. So I will be representing our committee in defense of our decision. And we will see what happens, and I will have a report at our next regularly scheduled meeting. And I have no other business. If any of my fellow committee members has any, then we can entertain other business from other committee members now. Otherwise, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you, and good night.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Cindy.